Hey, hey. Meanwhile, I always forget. Wait. What is my Brown Ambition entry song? Wait.
We're back. We're
Oh, yeah.
We're done, Tiffany.
So I know. Hey. We're back. We're black. We're extra brown today. Ambition. Yo, my guest today had to help me with the theme song. Y'all know how my memory is set up. But before I forget, before I introduce my amazing, special, she's like my... I don't say spirit animal anymore because a native person was like, that is disrespectful. So instead they said use Patronus. She's my Patronus. If you guys are into the Harry Potter, which I am, she's my Patronus. Before I introduce her, real quick, y'all know I've been in business for about 15 years. We've made over $40 million in business. I have mentored hundreds, if not thousands of women, some of which are 7-figure businesses and 6-figure businesses themselves. And I have a mentorship club, if you will. It is currently only $10 a month. It's my way of kind of like pouring back into other women because I was poured into. It's not specifically for Black and brown women, but let's just say those are my faves. So if you have a business or you are thinking about starting a business, now's the perfect time to sign up at mymentortiffany.com. The link will be in the show notes because by the time you listen to this show, this week we're doubling it from $10 a month to $20 a month. But we are grandfathering in any current member. So if you're paying $10, you will always pay $10. And so if you've just been curious and you're like, should I do it? mymentortiffany.com. I go live once a month with a lesson. You get to connect weekly with your other mentees. There is a monthly networking game that they play together. And then even in person, I have mentee dinners, with mentees all around the country. So it's just a really awesome time for $10. So why pay $20 when you could pay $10? mymentortiffany.com, because this week is the last week it'll be that price. Now let's get into the business at hand. We have the one, the only Berna. Berna, how you say your last name? Anat?
Anat. Like anatomy.
Like a-nat?
Anat. Like
okay.
Anat.
Well, I'm going to do her bio and then we're going to wild out. You'll see why Berna is my Patronus because we're both crazy. Berna is an award-winning producer, speaker, podcast host, rich auntie in training, and financial hype woman. I wish you guys could watch on YouTube. You ought to be, because you would see Berna is giving face. She's voguing. Berna is just giving energy, which is her made up way of saying that she creates financial education media all over the interwebs. Okay. She is born and raised in the Bay Area, and she's a proud, is it Filipina? That's how we say it properly? Okay.
Filipina-American.
Filipina-American daughter of immigrants. Oh, same like me, except for I'm not Filipina. I'm Nigerian, but close enough. She taught herself how to pay off over $50,000 in debt. And then did what any millennial would do. She yelled about it on the internet. Berna's work has been featured on platforms like Forbes, the New York Times, Buzzfeed. Berna received a Plutus Award for most entertaining financial content creator 2 years in a row. So just so you know, the Plutus Awards are like the Emmys for financial educators. So it's a big deal. And was named one of ABC's global Pinoy idols. You can find Berna online at Hey Berna on all platforms and heyberna.com or curled up with her nieces watching The Office. And I'd be remiss not to say Berna has a new amazing book out called Money Out Loud, which, you know what I'm saying, I gave praise for because it's an awesome book and as awesome as Berna is. So we welcome you to the stew, Berna.
Thank you for having me, Tiffany. This is I can't build a safer, more wonderful financial podcast space. Brown Ambition is my number one favorite financial podcast. You are my number one favorite financial educator. I've been telling everyone since I've opened my mouth in this industry. You are my alpha and omega. So this is everything to me. And for folks who may have attended my New York City launch event, Tiffany was so kind as to moderate our discussion and co-host with me. And it's been a very surreal couple of months, kicked off with my event with Tiffany. So
Berna, let's just talk about, so for those of you who I talked about the mentorship before, Berna's one of my mentees, my in-person mentees. And we talked about her book and me and Berna were talking like every month to go over like, here's some things you can do. And so let's just do a check-in because I know book launching is not easy.
Oh my God.
So where's your spirit and your soul right now? Like, how are you feeling in this moment?
Great question. I have been telling people over the last month, 2 months, because my book came out about a month and a half ago, that it's been like, okay, you know how I love a metaphor, like an elongated, ridiculous metaphor. It's like when you're like playing in the ocean with your friends or maybe your crushes around, and like you're like kind of in the deep end and you're trying to like show off your swimming skills, but like still have your like little aerial moment, like flipping your hair around. Shout out to Halle Bailey. But then the waves start coming in faster and faster, and like one hits you and you're like, oh, okay, let me breathe within the like before the next wave, but the next wave comes too fast. And so now you like swallow a bunch of seawater, and that's happening over and over. That's how I felt for like 2 months, but good. Like all the waves of seawater are good, beautiful, miraculous, loving, supportive things. But I am still drowning a little bit. I am still getting seawater in my mouth. It's just like, it's good seawater. So it's been wonderful and like chaotic. And I think just in the last week, I've been able to get to more calmer waters and breathe a little bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's talk about money out loud. Like one, first, how did you become a financial educator? Like what, like how did you get here? Like, from how you grew up to what made you think like, how'd you pay off your debt? And then what made you say, I think I want to show other people. Like, what's that story like?
Oh my gosh, the story. So, I mean, you were right at the freaking a big plot point of my story, I must say. But I didn't grow up at all in money, knowing money, understanding money. You and I connect on this in being children of immigrants, first gen. And my parents immigrated from the Philippines, and like so many of us first gen children of immigrants, we only know what our parents taught us. And our parents didn't have time to teach us stuff like this. We were very much in like a lower middle income household, and the focus in an immigrant family is to assimilate and survive and to just get a knowledge of the rules and the systems. And so growing up, it was like the money was never talked about. It was not discussed. It was only felt in like tension and weirdness when my siblings and I would walk into the room, and it was like the classic picture of like bills all over the table and like weird vibes with my parents. So money was never part of my life really, except for like background tension. Cut to, I'm in my like mid-20s. I am in New York City trying to be a magazine editor. Remember those? Remember magazines? What? And so I was very broke. And I was in like $12,000 of credit card debt, $48,000 of student loan debt. And I, like everyone else around me, was just like, I guess I'm just going to die broke. La, 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 la. I started to think through like, what would it take to take down my credit card debt? So I started like, I always use the classic gif of like, like the cat at a keyboard going like this, like tapping at a keyboard. That was me being like, what is budgeting? Like, how would I theoretically get rid of this credit card debt? And this is kind of where my journey started. It wasn't necessarily what I was learning. What I was learning was really, it was mind blowing because we don't get taught this stuff in school. It's really just a matter of whether you can access the information and if you can understand the information. So I was like, where was all this information about budgeting and credit card interest rates and debt payoff plans? Like, we didn't learn any of this stuff. How come I have to Google it to find out? That was one thing that made me angry. But the second thing that made me go, okay, I think I need to start learning this stuff is the fact that, and I know I said this to you many times, I say this on the internet all the time, I saw that all the educators, so many of our like financial education idols were hella male, hella pale, hella stale. I am from the California Bay Area. I will say hella at every opportunity, and you can't stop me. So it was the two things that really got me like, oh, heck no, was one, the inaccessibility to the information and how it's like a foreign language, financial education. And two, the fact that there were so few women and even less women of color in the financial education space. But one thing that changed everything is I met somebody named Tiffany. Someone recommended Tiffany to me, and I was like, what's this person all about? And I vividly remember I was sitting on my bed And my partner at the time was like putting away clothes. And he was like, what are you laughing at? And I was like, I'm on a Facebook Live of this woman named Tiffany. And she's talking about, I think you were talking about like mortgages. I was like, this is so irrelevant to my life. Like that week's topic happened to not be relevant to my debt payoff plan. But I was like, why am I sitting here listening to this woman talk about mortgages? I'm just like enraptured. You were the first person to make me go, wait, we can be funny and in financial education at the same time. Why do I feel like I'm just like on Skype with my bestie? Like, this is so great. That really changed things for me too. So I started sharing my debt payoff journey, internet things, video, and things grew, and we're here.
Yeah, that's awesome. 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 So how did you go from that to like, okay, now, because ultimately a book is just another tool for education.
Yes.
When did you decide, you know what, I want to put my ideas into a book? Were you just approached and you never thought about it? Like, what was that process like for you?
I keep telling people I got into my book deal kind of butt backwards, but maybe this was seeded by my childhood self. I wanted to be a writer when I first kind of like, I don't know, became sentient, like understood what it meant to have a job. I was like, I want to write. But of course, I have immigrant parents. Mm-hmm. And if you have immigrant parents, writer is not on the table, especially for Asian Filipino-American kids. I keep joking that you have 4 choices when you are.
Let me guess. They're similar to Nigerian. Doctor, lawyer,
check.
Engineer,
yes.
Pharmacist.
Oh, I was going to say the last one is always disappointment. It's doctor, lawyer, engineer.
To me, the 5th one is drug dealer for Nigerians. They're like, hey, so you're a drug dealer. I'm like, I'm a teacher. They're like, drug dealer.
Drug dealer. And drug dealer is the catch-all for everything that's embarrassing to them. Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Yes.
Exactly. And even like in the last few years, describing my career to my parents, they're like, you do what? With the same tone as if I was like, I deal drugs, mother. That's what I do. It's like doctor, lawyer, engineer, disappointment. And so
love it.
Writer, I think, was taken off the table pretty early when I was younger. And I sort of like went around and pursued like PR and marketing and things like that. But I'd always wanted to write. Fast forward again to, being a content creator, putting up videos, doing speaking gigs. I had hired an agent to help me with sorting through, these inquiries and negotiating and everything. I took time. I was like, I want to agent up with a woman of color in an independent agency because this is distribution of wealth. Like, this is who I want to build my like financial ecosystem with. And then a month after we signed on together, my agent Tabia was like, so I was approached by HarperCollins and I was like, and they were like, they're looking for someone to write a financial education book for young people specifically. Like, would you be interested in that? And I feel like my 7 to 11-year-old self was like, like, yes, very interested. They had a outline for what they wanted the book to have. And they already kind of had ideas for like a title. And I saw it and I was like, oh no. There was this sort of like your teen's guide to, I was like, no ma'am, none of that. Because I worked for 17 magazine. I worked for the YMCA and lots of other teen programs, after school programs and camps in New York City. The worst thing you can do, especially in terms of media, is call a teen a teen. Teen's guide to. I was like, okay, I need to bring YMCA Berna into this and be like, here's how I would do it. Here's how I would restructure all the information. Get rid of this, put more of this. And they were like, do you want to write it? And I was like, I do. I absolutely do. That's how we got to the book deal specifically. And I was just psyched. Like, this has been a very full circle healing moment for my inner self.
No, I love that. So Money Out Loud, you would say, like, who is the ideal like reader for Money Out Loud? And, is it just the young teen, or is it a parent of a teen? Is it the aunties of a teen? Like, who would you love to see pick this book up off the shelf?
Oh, my absolute number one audience. It's 2 people in my mind. It is anyone who identifies with the rich auntie. And that is of any age, of any generation. But the person in my mind next to the rich auntie holding my book has given a second copy to the young person that they want to inspire. I really wrote this as a letter to my 16-year-old self, really like a letter to my nieces. I have 4 nieces, all between the ages of 23 and 2. And this was me writing a book to them. And so my ideal audience is anyone who considers themselves a mentor and also understands that no matter what age you're at, you were probably failed by the financial education system. So I don't want anyone to feel like, oh, it's a book for young people. It's not for me. It is for you. And my dream is for you to also give it to a young person who, like, you wish you could do better by your younger self. So I'm going to pay it forward and give it to the newer generation so that they don't have to struggle like we did. I'm like, it is very much a auntie and nibbling, like mentor mentee kind of pairing. That's my ideal.
So one of the things I love about Money Out Loud, first of all, the cover is everything. All right.
Thank you.
I love how you advocated. I know all the stuff behind the scenes about Berna, but I love how you advocated for yourself for the cover.
Yes.
You were the opposite of me. I was like, I don't want to be on. I don't want to be on.
You being on your cover made me go like, that is so impactful. I'm sure a lot of the decisions of you being on the cover and all the positives, I'm like, yeah, it hit me. Because I'm like, how many women of color do you see on the cover of their own money books? And so that was something that we fought for.
So yours is like super fun. And then also too, what I really, really love is that like there's so many awesome illustrations in this book and they're so fun. Yes. So like if I was a young auntie, a rich auntie, which I am actually, I am a rich auntie. And so I just love, I enjoy reading. Go to Barnes and Nobles, pick a book off the shelf. I will do the flip, the book flip where you look in. And I'm like, if you do the book flip here, you're like, wait a minute. There's like, there's illustrations. It just looks fun. It doesn't look overwhelming. I just love that you include it. And like, there's all these drawings of Berna. So you can see this brown girl with big curly hair. Yeah. And I just love like, you're always giving encouragement like this one. It says, when I say community, you say care. I love that.
I had to step into the hype woman of it all. And I have to give all the flowers to Monique Sterling. She is our illustrator. Incredible. When my publisher was like, let's get an illustrator on this. Here's Monique Sterling's portfolio. And Monique had done a bunch of illustration also for BIPOC authors who were writing specifically towards like racial justice and just like very like focusing in on like, here are authors who don't typically get to be authors. I was like, Monique, yes. And it was wonderful to work together because we're like, how do I portray that in cartoon form is brown and has big curly hair, but also is not like, I'm Filipina, like I'm not coding that I am a Black woman with like an afro. There's some moments where we're like, oh, hold up. Let's not misrepresent, but I do want people to see my hair and my skin, and I'm like lunging, and we wanted to make it fun.
No, I love it. Like, first of all, this is funny. Interlude tax party. Taxes, don't know her. I'm like, yo, honestly, this book is like a party and a financial party in a book.
Thank you. And that chapter specifically, we're like tax party. I'm like, let's put balloons.
Yes.
Where would you see? Like, you see that and you're like, what is she talking about? Is it taxes? Let's find out.
I can't remember the first time that I saw you, but I don't know if you were live or I think it was just maybe you were doing like a series of videos. And I was like, oh my gosh, she is so silly and so fun and so wild. Because when I came into this space, I was really nervous about being myself. I actually slipped up and was myself, and that's how it came out. Like up until then, everybody was like, oh, very serious Tiffany. Hi guys, we're going to learn this. And so if you go to my YouTube channel, all my early YouTube videos is very serious Tiffany, fake serious, because that is not me. And then one time I was live and I don't know what happened. Everything that could go wrong was wrong. My bonus daughter had come into the room and I was asking her to close a door because at the time she was like young. And then I kept saying like, I think like Alyssa and Alexa kept saying yes. And I'm like, oh. So I'm trying to keep it together like, not you, Alexa. Alyssa, can you go? Yes, would you? So finally I was like, God damn it, Alexa, shut the hell up.
And that is when I entered the room and was like, this is my person.
And then I didn't realize, I looked at the camera and I was like, wait, I showed myself. I tried to go back to fake phony, serious Tiffany, but the comments went crazy.
Yes.
And it was like what my therapist calls a corrective experience.
Oh.
You tell yourself, if I go left, I bump my toe. If I go left, I bump my toe. And then one day you go left and you don't, and you're like, oh, like just because turning left is not a precursor for bumping my toe. So I thought like success had to come from serious. Success is serious. And then one day, I slipped up and I wasn't serious. And it was like, I got this immediate reaction of like, we like this, Tiffany. Yes. And And so as a result, it corrected that experience for me to say, wait, can I be myself? And then, bring people into the room still. And so did you start off when you first started, like, hey, Berna, did you start off like fully being yourself? Or did you have to grow into it? Like when you started to be more publicly facing?
I think I didn't have to spend too much more time growing into it because honestly, creators like you made me go like, I was seeing other financial creators be the serious and I was like, okay, and this is where I'm just a learner. I'm just sort of like synthesizing my education in my own little private Google Doc and great, I'm just a student. When I saw folks like yourself bring the personality and not only was that more entertaining for me, but it made the education go down differently. Mm-hmm. It was like the spoonful of medicine or a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, this is impactful. Also, I'm nuts. Like, could this help? Could this help people learn? And so when I started sharing my financial journey, my like debt payoff journey, my like budget building journey, I'm naturally inside. I'm a child. Like my inner child is right front and center. All that she's at the control center always. And so in order for me to learn anything, I have to translate for my inner child. And that's how I started sharing my information. Just like, so interest is this. Here's the like Investopedia kind of Merriam-Webster's dictionary. Here's how I would explain it to my inner 5-year-old. I feel like other people's inner 5-year-old was like, now I get it. Now I understand. And so it was, you open the door for so many of us to be like, oh, like I can be myself. And then I realized the more I am myself, the more I speak to a different level of people. Like so many of us, especially BIPOC, we understand what it's like to be talked at from the like, with our professional voice. And like our professional selves are like, I'm talking back to you in the professional selves. But when we're ourselves, like when you and I as creators are ourselves, we get under that layer and it's like, oh, that's how I yell at Alexa at home. Like that's, that metaphor that Berna made is something, that's the way that like I would explain it to my 5-year-old self. It just like, it digs in deeper and I want to always stay in that level. So it was freeing for me to see creators like you do that. And the more that I do it, the more that I was like making silly metaphors and skits and characters and seeing that people were being entertained and learning at the same time, I was like, great. I found my pocket. Like I don't have to hide my inner child. She actually is a big part of the impact that I make. So she's a CEO.
So we all know that there are so many ills that that we people of color have to navigate because of the state of our personal finances and the state of the way the world looks at us and the world interacts with us via the economy and our finances. Like what problem do you hope to solve with Hey Berna? Like for me, I hope to help to start to close the racial wealth gap, specifically through Black women, right? And so I don't turn anyone away, but that's like my core deliverable. Like I want to help Black women get on financial track because through Black women, you help Black men. Through Black women, you help Black children. Through Black women, you help the Black family and communities. And then the communities at large benefit overall, right? So what problem are you hoping to solve or at least start to chip away at?
Yes. Okay. So I think I feel like there's a woo-woo problem and then like a technical problem that I'm hoping to solve. I think the woo-woo problem is the sense that a lot of people don't feel like they belong in the financial conversation at all. And I think I've shared this metaphor with you before, but one of my favorite sort of impacts and effects that I feel like my work has had is it's like you're at a party or like your friend invites you to a house party, but you go without your friend. You like arrived late, so you come by yourself and you walk into the door and you're like, okay, like the party's already started. You don't really know anyone. You don't see anyone you know, but everyone's having a good time. And you're like, this is intimidating. You're like, is everybody looking at me? I don't think I belong here. Ugh, it's loud. I don't see my friend. And then you're like, you know what? If I just leave, no one's going to know. And my friend's not going to know. I'm just going to get out of here. But then your friend sees you and they're like, oh my God, like Tiffany, you're here. Thank God. Like you made it. Okay, let me show you around. Here's where you put your jacket. Avoid these people. This is where you get the drinks. That guy sucks, whatever. And then you join the party. But then later on in the night, you got comfortable. You made friends. You might lose that friend again, but it's fine because you've already been introduced. You were brought in by someone who made you feel welcome. You were like oriented. And now you're having a great night, even without that person. That is what I want to be for the financial world. I want to be the person that's like, hey, you're here. You belong here. I'm so happy you're here. I'm glad. Let me just make you feel comfortable. let me orient you to a different financial world where you don't have to listen to hella male, stale, pale dudes gaslight you out of your financial reality. And let me bring you in. And that effect, I think, is so impactful. Even if after that, they never like engage with my content again, they might buy Money Out Loud. But that is then the impetus for them to buy a whole bunch of other financial books that speak to them and go down all these other financial rabbit holes and find a Tiffany or find anyone else that they're like, oh, this is me furthering my education. I'm happy to be the bouncer. I'm happy to be the person that brought them in, the orientation leader, I guess. The mascot.
I love that. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. And then the technical thing is, and this is something that I've been talking a lot with my friend Yaneli, who also just came out with a financial education.
I was just texting her yesterday. I'm mentoring her with her new book coming out. Well, the book came out. So yes, I've been.
Yes, she is incredible. She also works as, I think it's like director of education at Next Gen Personal Finance. They're working very hard on trying to pass as many financial education literacy laws in the country, because only, I want to say like 21, 22 states have it mandatory. I know Tiffany has a budgetnista law in New Jersey. And I'm really hoping that this book can help become not necessarily part of the curriculum for financial education, but part of the push that financial education is important to start in middle school, in high school, make it relevant, make it interesting, make it brown. I want to get this book in front of as many young BIPOC as possible for free. They should not have to shell out $20 or whatever, or like go seeking this information. I want it to be in their classrooms, at the YMCA, in their after school programs. So I'm trying to do it for the youth.
I love that. So big. I want to welcome you in to financial education. You have a space and a place here. You're not only welcome, but you are important. And then, more concrete, let's get financial education in the hands of young people, especially young people of color. Ideally, your book being one of the core tools that people can use. So love it. You see my recap? That's my teacher recap. You see my recap?
It's beautiful. Is she a teacher? You should teach. Maybe you should go into education. You ever think about that?
All right, well, let's talk more personal things, right? So, Berna, for me, I'm always just like beyond like business, beyond, like what you do, like, I don't know, like what is your, like, how do you want life to go for you? Like, I'm just curious. This is just me, like, mentor Tiffany asking you, like, how is it, I know you're doing this and you're doing well, but I've seen so many people who have totally checked out. I don't even know if you've noticed lately, a lot of people literally have closed down their social media shops. That's been like a real trend of overwork and overwhelm. So I'm just curious, like, what would you like to see for yourself in the next like 2, 5, 10 years? Like what direction you want to go in? Like what are your big and small goals?
Oh my gosh. Great question. And a wonderful time to ask it, because I'm after this week, I'm taking off like 3 weeks. It's my official like stop after the book tour. Like I keep using the metaphor with my, oh God, I drink every time I say metaphor. I keep using the metaphor with my therapist of just like, you're like running a race and you sprint across the finish line. But once you get across the finish line, you can't just stop, right? Like you have to run slower and then you got to jog and then you got to walk and then you have to stop eventually and like drink water and eat food. I feel like this is very first gen daughter of immigrant behavior, but if I don't check myself, I will jog. Yep. I will walk and then I'll start jogging again. I might not even walk. I might jog and then start sprinting. Because all we know is to push and work and try and achieve. And so I'm trying to take this summer to practice differently, right? To like correct my behavior and actually give myself 3 weeks off in June and then give myself the whole rest of the summer to just go slow. For a lot of us, I imagine maybe this is true for parts of your business too, but there's like a nice summer slowdown. And I'm like trying to lean into that. And what I want for like 5 to 10 years from now, I want to be softer. I spent the first 33 years of my first Gen Ass alpha daughter ass. Can I say ass?
Yeah, girl, ass.
Okay, thank you. I spent the first 33 years of my first Gen Ass alpha daughter of immigrants ass going hard and sprinting all the time and never having a leisurely stroll, right? I don't know how to do that. So I need to teach myself how to do that. And knowing that I've spent so much of this part of my life sprinting, what would the rest of my life look like if I went slow on purpose? What would it look like if I were soft and gentle to myself and took my time and like finally believed my own hype? I think part of why folks like me keep running, even when we've accomplished so much, is we don't let ourselves internalize or trust what we've already achieved. And we don't ever let ourselves like kind of be on our own, like, that's not even just hype, because that makes it sound like sort of helium. We don't let ourselves trust the like foundation we've actually set and the work we've actually put behind us, and really kind of put trust in our own abilities that like already happened. I want to go soft and go slow. And the question I keep asking myself is like, what kind of abundance? I know what kind of abundance can come up if I work my butt off, like manically. I understand that very intimately. What kind of abundance can happen if I don't work my butt off? If I go slow, if when I mean no, I say no, as opposed to yes, because I'm scared you're going to go away opportunity. Also in a more tangible sense, I want to start working on this next summer. My dream as an entrepreneur has always been to work during the school year so that during the summertime, I could take all my weeks off and be a summer camp auntie. Like go back and work at summer camps in any degree, because I worked as a teen camp programs director for 3 years. I worked in the summer, basically leading 15 to 17-year-olds and doing like leadership programs at camps. Best job of my entire life. Worst paid, probably the most physically stressful and maybe mentally stressful, but all the light bulbs in my body light up when I'm at camp and I'm working with young people at an overnight summer camp who are specifically like young brown people who've never been to camp before and never freaking touched a river and never heard a frog. Like that, I'm doing all this so that I can disappear every summer and do like lead arts and crafts and campfire songs.
I love that.
I want it so bad. And I think I want to use this book as my vehicle to like launch myself into summer camps next summer and basically like, you know, wave the book around and then also be like, okay, s'mores. Okay, let's talk. Like, let's campfire time.
Honestly,
Roses and thorns.
and I love that you've gotten so specific with it, because,
Yes.
you know, like sometimes we don't even know. Like you work so hard, to your point. I call it launch mode, you know, like, so if anybody's ever like launched a book or a business or whatever, you know, there's a certain energy that's brought on, hyper vigilance, hyper work. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that when you're launching the actual thing. But so many of us don't know how to deactivate launch mode. It's like there's nothing actually launching and I'm going just as hard and fast, you know?
Exactly. Like you just live, your default mode is launch mode. There's no relax. Like my business coach, Kristen, always gets mad at me because she's like, okay, you just launched this thing. You launched your membership. You did a week of classes. You launched a book. What are you going to do to relax? And I'm like, take a nap? And she's like, girl, that's a biological need. What else are you going to do? I'm like, eat pasta. She's like, that's also a biological need. What's indulgent that you're going to do? How are you going to treat yourself? And I blank. I literally cannot answer it. And I think so many of us are in that same position because all we know is launch and we don't know. We even like shy away from and run away from celebrating ourselves and giving ourselves the credit and things like that. And so I'm going to try, I feel like a baby deer, like on wobbly legs, trying it this summer and being like, what am I going to do for 3 weeks? Panic? Work? And so my business coach is like, and that's why we're going to structure your 3 weeks a little bit. Yeah. I'm going to take your laptop away. Like we're gonna
it's true. Out. Honestly, at my peak overwork and overwhelm, there was not a place I did not take my laptop. Literally, I would take my laptop food shopping.
Yeah, no.
Because you never knew, girl. I was like, you never know. Like, and there were times when I was in the aisle and I would take it out because my admin would text or call me or whatever and be like, oh, hey, Tiffany, there's a contract you have to review. As if she said, or else the world is going to be bombed or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, girl, I think you can wait till you get home and you put the eggs up. Yeah. I mean, but I would be like, girl, say less. And I would take out my laptop in the supermarket on my cart and be like, done. And
hotspot.
I did not know I had a problem until you would think that was it, but no, I remember distinctly I was getting like my annual checkup and I was like waiting in the doctor's office and I was wearing, you know, like, I don't know, like, you know, the little gown, just sitting, waiting. And I had my laptop on my lap and I was working. So yes. And I thought totally normal because girl, I'm going to wait 10, 15 minutes. What will I do with my hands?
Literally like 45 seconds of rest. Emails.
Meanwhile, not my cell phone, my laptop. So she comes in. So before she came in, you know, like the nurse or I'm guessing it's the nurse, she, you know, take your blood pressure, take your vitals. And they come in and she was like, so your blood pressure is really high.
Oh no.
And I was like, really? She's like, I think I can guess what. As I'm tapping, hold on real quick, doc. Just wrapping up this email and send.
I think what about stress?
I was like, is it? She was like, this is the second time you come in and it's a little elevated. I was like, I think maybe because I run up the stairs. She looked at the laptop and looked at me and was like, the delusion is real.
Yes.
She was like, Tiffany, do you always work this much? I was like, no, it's just right now. We have a project.
Right.
And it didn't really click to me. I was in such a level of stress. I didn't. So I'll give you an example. Like when I was in college, this like my first real like major crush, he used to smoke hella weed. I did not know this because I was like grew up super sheltered or whatever. I was like, and no judgment. But I remember one time I was like, you seem weird today. Are you okay? He was like, oh, I'm not high. And so I was like,
high.
wait, what? And he was like, oh, no, I smoke a lot of weed. You didn't know that? I was like, I did not know that. He's like, what do you think that smell was? I'm like, I do not know.
Cologne?
So for me, I was so stressed that when I wasn't, I was like, oh, because I'm not high. Meaning like when someone was like, is everything okay, Tiffany? It was like, wait, I didn't know. I was so stressed. I did not know I was stressed because that was just life.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I read
that
this
was
meme one time that said like, some of you guys think you're morning people, but it's your anxiety waking you up. It read me for filth. I was like, wait, what? Because I was waking up every morning at 5. I was like, I remember I used to prime myself. I don't need an alarm clock, sis. My internal clock be click. Meanwhile, it's my anxiety like, get up, girl.
You can't sleep. You don't get sleep.
No, I don't care if I went to bed at 1, 5 o'clock. I went to bed at 2, 5 o'clock. I could not sleep beyond that. I couldn't. And I thought that it was like, I'm just working really hard. This is what it looks like. And I just worked myself into where it got so bad that she was like, okay, I want you to take home this blood pressure like machine. And I want you every day to put in your numbers in the morning and the evening so I can see. Because I told her I'm not taking medicine. I'm not 80. Girl, it's not happening. Because I convinced her it's because I ran up the stairs. I'm just a little stressed in this moment, but I'm good either way. She's like, okay, prove it. Mm-hmm. And so I'm almost positive like a healthy blood pressure is like 120 over 80. Let me just, let's see. Let's see what healthy blood pressure is. I took the machine home and child, let me see. Healthy.
Oh, we're Googling it.
Yeah, healthy girl, because Google knows healthy blood pressure, right? So yes, 120 over 80 is considered healthy. Mine was saying like 160 over 100. I mean, that's like go to the hospital now. And I remember being like, so the first time I did it was like 140, 150 over like 90 or something. I was like,
right.
This seems, and I really was like, So I kept taking it. So finally my sister was home and I was like, girl, come take this, come use this broken machine. Her said 120 over 80. I was like, So my bonus daughter, Alyssa, who's like 17, like at the time, like 14, Liz, come take this machine. And it was like 120 over 80. I was like, and then I would take mine and it would be higher, 160 over such and such. And I'm like, this got to be broken, but only when I put it on my arm. I could not conceptualize how could my blood pressure be so? Because I was always perfect blood pressure girl in great health. And by then I was like, I was 30 pounds heavier than I am now. But I'm like, I've been thick before.
Right.
And so I was like, is it the weight? No. I was so stressed from how much work that I was doing. And I remember at the peak is when my business was making its most. We had hit $10 million that year.
Wow.
And we were making the most and I felt physically the worst.
Wow.
I was like, and it took, I was on that space. It wasn't until really like my husband, Jarrell, passed away that it like hit me like a ton of bricks where it was like, what is this all for again? Right. Nothing is more clarifying than death, And I just was like, and I remember distinctly asking myself, you're going to have to choose between having the space to grieve or managing this health, Tiffany, because you actually don't have the energy for both. So if you want to have the space to grieve, I need you to remove the stress, eat better, and start moving your body because I didn't have the energy to manage both. You know what I mean? Like I can't be dragging like this like heart that's not working when the heart is already broken, And so it was in that moment I went to Bali for 2 months,
Mm,
and there's like no sugar available unless you want a
beautiful.
pineapple. And outside is fresh and clean, and you're walking everywhere and the beach every day and swimming every day. And so I dropped like 15 pounds from like grief, as well as just like, like being better
Movement.
to myself. I came back and
Mm,
I totally reorganized my companies. Because there was just a
wow.
lot of people that were working here that were awesome, nice people, but I just was like overpaying because just I wanted to overcompensate for women of color.
Yeah.
And like, we had way more people than we needed. I was
Mm,
paying way more than what really that the company could bear, just because, like I said, I wanted to overcompensate. But it meant that I had to work really, really hard to maintain that.
right.
And so I had to restructure the company. And now I can say my blood pressure is back to normal. I'm back to 120 over 80.
Yay.
I'm down
That's
30 pounds.
incredible.
And when I tell you, I walk about an hour and some change every day.
Beautiful.
And I take a nap daily, and I do not
Yeah.
overwork and overwhelm. I take about 3 months off a year. Um,
Wow.
and like even now today I had like a team call, and I do walking calls. So I was
Oh,
like, it was so
nice.
nice outside. I was like, oh, I'm going to do the call, and y'all, if you want to be on Zoom, that's cute for you, but I will be on Zoom dialing. And then I mute because the birds are chirping so loud. I'm
Hear
like,
the
all
outside.
right, you're up next, Logan. Mute.
Exactly.
And so,
You're like Snow White in my head. You're just like,
like,
uh-huh.
literally,
What?
like,
Yeah,
oh, that's just the birds.
it's a tree talking. Sorry.
But I realized that my bad habits were also pouring into the team because they were overworking as well too. And so I do the walking calls, and I let them hear that because I let them know you can be outside too. I'm not mad at that. Unless you're physically
Yes.
presenting something, you can be
Right.
outside. You can
Yeah.
take you can take the call while you're getting your hair braided, and
Mm,
so yeah, I want that. So for all my mentees and things, I'm always leaning into just like, I want life to meet you healthy, happy, whole. That what you're
yes.
doing should be a tool for that, not the thing itself. I don't want you to be overworked and overwhelmed. And certainly, book launch
No.
time. I understand that you have to launch, but I'm so glad you have a definitive, I'm out of launch mode. And
Yes.
like the big sister in me is like, hey, do you have a kind of like these because we talked about like after now the book, you're not in heavy launch mode, hopefully you have like a warming pot where the book continues to like be out there without you physically having to like be so present, like how I do my Friday
Mm,
posts that kind of talk about the book.
yes.
But I'm like, girl, those are light lists, but it does make a big difference, you know?
Yeah,
And so
it does.
do you have something like lined up like that?
I'm working with, for the first time ever, working with a social media person who like, I've always sort of, if I've worked with a social media person before, I've like shared the reins a little bit, but I was always the poster. I was always still like the front. And
Mm.
so it's been really interesting for me to actually hand the keys over and like, you post you tell me what needs to be posted. You post, you give me ideas, you post for like on behalf of me. And we were talking about like, how can we post consistently throughout the summer? So I'm not like making a new video series. I'm not like putting hella work into it because I still want to be a little offline. But
Mhm.
what can we automate and what routines can we set? Kind of like your Get Good with Money Fridays is what is it? What it
Mhm.
is?
Mhm.
What can we automate so that people like it's like a very consistent low lift drum beat. So I'm actually conceptualizing that right now, like these next couple of weeks with my social media person, Kat, because I've found someone that I trust to speak to my community almost like on my behalf and like
Okay.
share that load with, which is my little baby step
Mm.
towards like actual passive work. I think there's like a first gen resistance in me. Like part of my new brain is like, I love passive stuff. Like, yes, we love to work less, do less, do more, get more. But there's still other part of my brain that's like, is that a scam? If I'm not sweating, do I deserve the
Yes.
accolades afterwards? I should be crying. I should be crying, right? If I'm not crying right now, then well, it's not real work. And so I'm like slowly trying to turn that bus around and have that going. And I'm also we're planning on a fall tour once school is back in
Okay.
session for me to be able, since we're pushing this like young brown people need to have this book
Mhm.
agenda, lining up lots of speaking gigs for the fall. So I'm sort of I think this is something that you and I have talked about a
Mhm.
lot in our mentorship sessions is like seasons. Like there's a season for
Yes.
like, I'm out, I'm doing this. And there's equal value in being like, I'm hiding, I'm conceptualizing, I'm, I'm
Yes.
recharging my energy. So trying to find the balance.
No, I love that. And I love that. And honestly, too, just remember that sometimes it's not balance, it's harmony, right? Sometimes the sopranos, they're slaying, and, the altos are just like humming in the background. And sometimes the altos are like, girl, it's my solo.
Yeah.
So there are moments in time where you're like, you're more partner than you are daughter. You're more daughter than you are sister. You're more sister than you are bestie, and there's nothing wrong with that. Harmony means it's for the betterment of the overall song of your life.
Yes, 100%. And I think what's really hard, and it sounds like I heard this in your story too, talking about how grief was clarifying for you and your life was like, you need to give something up. Yeah. So much of us, again, in this like first gen alpha kid mentality is like, no, we do everything. Mm-hmm. We check all the boxes. We keep all the plates warm, like all the burners are burning bright, right? Mm-hmm. Like we can do it all. We can do it all. But that's a lie that we have been sold and continue to sell ourselves. And so letting go of that and really embracing the fact that like, no, you can't. Or you can try and do everything, but here's what happens. Mm-hmm. You hit a wall, your blood pressure spikes. Like, you can try. It's letting go of that, like, she can do everything. She's a superhero. Like, letting go of that. There's fear for sure. Yes. I'm afraid to let go of that. And it's because it's all we know. And being that has given us so much. But like letting go, what instead are you making room for that actually could be more expansive and more healing than high achievement or like, the money? That's so hard to retrain. It's at least for me, very difficult to retrain my brain around, but trying.
It is, because the world rewards, like I would say outward high achievement.
Yes.
Like, oh my gosh, they have that sticker on their book, or they're on that TV show, or they're making how much. And it is, I would still be on that train had it like life literally just sat me down, because it's very hard to retrain your brain. That's why I don't spend as much time on social media like I used to, unless I'm watching somebody renovate their house, because me watching other people succeed externally, it's very hard not to say, I want to get that too, even if I don't actually want to. What I'm really saying 100%. Is I want that at work. I want the external accolades as well.
Yes.
Because that's how you bring value. If you are you not valuable if people don't know? And so I just was like, oh, Tiffany, I'm tired. I don't want to play that game. Let them have it. I don't care. I want an actual good life.
Exactly. This has been really difficult to contend with in the middle of my launching, because of course, I'm launching the book. I have dreams of being on all bestseller lists or whatever. And at the same time, I'm like, wait, are you enjoying the process? Like, will you look back on this time of your life and be like, I was so stressed. I was it's been really interesting for me to go like, okay, here's one way the book launch could go. I could stress myself the hell out, trying so hard to accomplish these things. Do I actually want those things? What would it look like to achieve them or get on that show or do that thing? And at the end of the day, did you have a good time? Again, I'm talking to my inner child. Did I have a good time? Mm-hmm. Was it memorable? Like, am I now no longer present at these amazing events and my family threw me a surprise party? Like, these are the things I want to invest my energy in and be present for. One of my really good friends, Mimi, she's an author that I met at my co-working space in San Francisco. She is a few weeks before launch, she was like, I want you to know, she's like, I know you're a highly ambitious individual and all these things are going to happen. It's going to be great. You're going to be triggered to try to make more things happen. Please know you already did the hard work. You wrote the book. Yes. You already did it. If you don't do anything to extra promote this book, it takes nothing away from the accomplishment. You can lay down and let launch day happen, show up at your events, and then go back to sleep. And no jury in the world would convict you of not doing enough. That's the monster in your head telling you. Yeah. But you did it already. Authors need to say that to other authors. You already did the hard work. And so I've been leaning into that. And whenever I have a moment in the last few weeks of wait, should I be posting today? Should I? But I'm like, oh, I already did it. Come on now. Don't I get to rest?
We stand Mimi.
You did it. Right? Thank you, Mimi. Mimi Locke. Incredible. She's like, she's also like, I'm older and you make me tired. So I just want to let you know. What you do is amazing. I'm tired just looking at your social media. And I hope that you're doing this because you like it, not because you feel like you have to. Because you already did all the have to. You did it. Lean back. I was like, okay.
My therapist would say, not have to, get to.
Get to.
or want to. She was like, Tiffany,
Yes.
I'm like, I feel like I should. She's like, not should, but
Should.
could or want to. You get to decide. Oh,
Yeah,
Berna,
that
thank you for
should.
coming on. You're awesome.
You're amazing. Every time we talk, Tiffany, it's like, I don't know. It's like dipping my heart in honey. It's like, or my heart is just like in a spa.
I love that. Honey is both sweet and exfoliating.
Exactly. And it has antibacterial properties.
Yeah.
Right? Doesn't it?
So
you heal
where
me.
can the girlies get money out loud, and where can they connect with you no matter where you are?
Of course, you can get Money Out Loud anywhere that you buy books, and you can get the audiobook as well anywhere that you get audiobooks. But I really stress you go independent. I actually love pointing people to bookshop.org because they are an organization where you can either buy from an independent bookstore or every purchase supports an independent bookstore. And those are the folks that really need your money. And also the audiobook, I narrate the audiobook. That's something that I have not, in terms of marketing, I have not told enough people that. People are like, I wish you would. And I'm like, damn it. I gotta do better on this one. But I narrate the audiobook. So if you find me entertaining in your ears, then you can listen to the book. And then you can find me everywhere at Hey Berna. I'll be going a little quieter on socials this summer, but I will be back to my full obnoxiousness in the fall. So you have till then to unfollow me.
We welcome the crazy. I love it. So yes, Hey Berna on all the things, heyberna.com. Money Out Loud available wherever books are sold. But ideally you go to this is bookshop, right?
Bookshop.org, yes.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead and get it, rich auntie, for you and your little nibbling. You know, if you got a young person in your life, a college student, it's actually perfect time for college. Because if your child or a child that is going off to college, that summer before, it's time to sit down and have talks with them. The talks about drinking, the talks about safety, the talks about money. It's perfect timing. So Money Out Loud by Berna Anat. Thank you, Bern.
Thank you,
Feeling
Tiffany.
the burn.
Oh, feel it. It's going to be a low simmer this summer, so hopefully it doesn't hurt.
No, I love it. Thank you, Berna.
Thank you.
Hey, BA fam. We're on YouTube. Woohoo! Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel.
And while you're at it, why don't you go over to that little bell icon and just tap that for us. Show the BA fam how much you love us. And that way you'll also get notifications when new videos drop. Also, share the channel with a friend. We're always like, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. And thank y'all so much again for all the support.